Hey everyone, it's so nice to see you guys. We're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and this is the Author's Corner, Meet the Author, and I'm Cece Schatz, the doyenne of relationship building. And you guys are asking yourself, what the heck is that, relationship building? Well, it is exactly that. It's really helping you build an environment around yourself where you feel comfortable, where you feel that you're loved and that you're embraced and that you can move forward in your life. And that's what it's all about. So what I do is I connect you with awesome people to get you to that point, to move you through in a way and in a speed that's good for you. And so we're excited to do that. So today with me, I have the Author's Corner, Meet the Author. I have a wonderful author, and we're going to talk to her because she is so interesting, you guys. I want you to hang on to your seat because she's wonderful. Let's bring her forward. We have Marta J. Papa, and she's the Divorce Whisperer. Welcome to the show, Marta.
Thank you. What a nice introduction. Thank you so much.
It's great having you. Well, Marta, you've been over 35 years in the legal industry. You're an attorney yourself, legal representation to those that have really gone through some of the difficult times in their lives. But you've got a twist on what you do, and which is why I was so excited to bring you here with us. You actually feel, and I'll let you share it yourself, but there's a different way we could get divorced. There's a different way we can handle it in a way where we can come together as human beings so that we can build a family, build a relationship with each other without a lot of arguing and all of this going on. So within the scope of things, you've actually written this wonderful book. I want to put it up here, 7 Secrets from the Divorce Whisperer, Saving Yourself, Your Money, Your Children During Divorce. So I'm going to turn it over to you because I'd like to know about your background, Marta.
Sure.
Why are you called the Divorce Whisperer? And tell us a little bit of how you got into doing what you're doing.
Sure. Well, I'm called the Divorce Whisperer because of a medical condition. So about 2006, I have always been for over 35 years, I've been a divorce attorney and mediator. So about 2006, all of a sudden I couldn't talk. I had laryngitis, and I went to some very prestigious university centers, medical centers, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And they said, go home and don't talk for a year. And I was recently divorced. I had a child in private school, self-supporting, had my own law firm. And I said, that doesn't work for me. That's not an option. And so I went to Chicago. I was from St. Louis, Missouri. I still live here. And I went to Chicago to where my brother lived. And he said, come up here, go to this college, a university medical center up here, and let them look at you. And I did that. And lo and behold, I happened to find the doctor for the Chicago Opera, and all he did was vocal cords, and so he knew vocal cords, and he was able to go down and look at my vocal cords, which other people had done, but they couldn't see anything. And he went down with really good equipment, and he could see 2 tumors, one on my left vocal cord, one on my right. And your vocal cords have to actually come together to be able to make sound. And if they can't, you can't make sound. And mine could not come together because of the actual tumors sticking out. They were sort of like eggs. And so they prevented my vocal cords from coming together. So he said, we have to surgically remove these immediately, or you'll never be able to talk again. And once we remove them, it'll take 6 to 9 months, and you have a 50-50 shot that they will heal over with scar tissue to very evenly so that they'll come together again and you can talk again. They may not. It's 50-50 shot, but otherwise you're going to be dead. So I took the shot. And sure enough, it took 6 to 9 months before I could speak again. He said, if your voice comes back, it'll come back in a whisper. and call me, and then you'll be coming to Chicago every 2 weeks to work with our vocal experts up here. So I got rid of all of my clients. I sent them. God, it sounds terrible. I sent them all to other professionals. There's no need for them to wait their divorce on my health. And I had about 4 mediation clients who would not move on to another mediator, and they would call once a month and say, "Does she have a voice yet?" My secretary would say, "No, she doesn't," and they just kept calling month after month, and we kept trying to say, "No, go to another mediator. They could pick up for her," and they just wouldn't do it. And so, month 6 or 7, I woke up and I had a whisper, and that's when I knew I was going to be okay. I was very excited to talk to my staff about it. To whisper to my staff, "Hey, I have a whisper." Right about then, a couple that I had worked with previously, who were one of these 4 couples who would not move on, called to see if I could talk. My secretary said yes, booked them for an appointment. I asked who it was. When she told me, I couldn't believe it. They were a particularly difficult couple when I had a voice. They were millionaires from Chicago and recently moved to St. Louis, and they didn't have any children, and they had about between $10 and $15 million worth of assets to divide. And wife had an affair, and husband wanted to punish her for the affair. And so when we got into dividing assets, which was really the only thing they needed to do, no children, no child support, no maintenance, every time husband would ask for something and wife would say, "Yes, that's fine, you can take that," husband would say, "You better give that to me, you GD effing whore." And she'd say, "Oh, forget it. If you're going to call me names, you can't have it." And then that would stall the negotiation. So before my surgery, I was constantly trying to get him to stop using those 4 words and show him that was sabotaging his ability to be successful in the mediation and get what he really wants. But he kept forgetting. And so we'd have to stop the mediation. We got nowhere. So they were my first clients when I came back, and I could only whisper. And so they whispered too. And I'd remind them they don't have to whisper. They'd laugh. But as soon as I started talking again, they would mimic my whispering. It's a neuron in your brain that mimics or mirrors what other people are doing. So as I would whisper, they would whisper too. So we all had to lean in at the table and whisper. And so when husband asked for the yacht at the Chicago Yacht Club, wife said, "That's okay, you can have that." And husband said, "You better give that to me." The husband whispered, "You better give that to me, you GD effing whore." It didn't have any sting to it. She just looked at him, kind of shook her head, and didn't say anything. And I picked up on it and said, "Okay, isn't there another yacht up in Mackinac Island in Michigan? Wife, do you want that?" I just kept him talking, and he never called her those 4 words again. And they finished dividing the entire estate in 2 hours. And we weren't able to do that in 4 different sessions before whispering. So they finished the mediation. I walked them to the door. I whispered, "I'll have this written up over the weekend. I've gotten very fast at typing, and I'll have it for you on Monday." And they whispered goodbye, thank you, and they walked off. And I shut the door. I turned around to my secretary and said, "How did that happen?" And she said, "You whispered them to a divorce." I just kind of laughed, didn't think much of it. A few months later, I was out to lunch with some friends. The topic came up. I told them the story, and a friend leaned back and said, "Oh my gosh, you're the divorce whisperer." And I said, "I don't know about that." And then the name stuck. So now when I teach divorce mediation, and we go over 20 to 40 different techniques for mediators to use to help husband and wife come to agreements and cut through the conflict and cut through the negativity or the meanness really between the two of them, to help them get to a point where they will honor what each other wants, and they'll actually negotiate with each other. Then I'll talk about the whispering technique. Teachers already know this technique. I didn't invent it. Teachers already know it. If you have a really loud classroom, they decrease the volume of their voice, and the whole classroom decreases the volume in the classroom. Then they decrease it some more, and then the kids decrease it some more. So clearly, I'm not the inventor. I just discovered a way to use it in mediation. I also use it with some clients that aren't mediating, also, who are all revved up and angry and want to go get that other person. And and the softer and the quieter I speak, the gentler I speak, they tend to follow me. So that's how I got the moniker of the Divorce Whisperer.
Well, I think that's really awesome. Main reason is because, mediation, I really feel, is the way to go in divorce. If we can actually talk and communicate and try to figure out what it is that we want to do to divide it. And I know, Marta, you and I talked previously before the actual show here today, and we talked a little bit about, the divorce is just purely an instrument, as you're moving forward. And so if it gets to the point where you are getting a divorce, then what's the best way to do this without, losing a lot of money, without a lot of aggravation, trying to really keep your family unit intact, even though you are divorcing, the marriage. So it's really the way to go, to be able to, the laws aren't going to change. I mean, the laws are still the way they are. So why can't we do it in a way where we can kind of hang on a little bit to ourselves?
Yeah. I love how you put the divorce is really, it's really a tool. It's not where you're headed. It's not where you're going to stay. It's something that you move through. I love how you say that, because it's real. I think it's really true. I've done more than 14,000 divorces. I've helped more than 14,000 people get divorced, and they think they're just labeled divorce afterwards, and there's no recovery from it, and there is recovery from it, and I'll call them Jack and Jill. Sometimes it's Jack and John, and sometimes it's Jill and Joan, and there's all sorts of different ways, different kinds of relationships. But the most common is Jack and Jill, so I'm going to call them that. There's all sorts of ways Jack and Jill's lives move forward. They don't stop at the divorce. It is a place where their relationship is redefined. And if they have children, if they don't have children, Jack moves to Seattle, Jill moves to New York. They never have to deal with each other again. They just have to divide up their stuff, and they're on their way to a different life, and they never have to speak again. But if there are children, their family doesn't disappear in smoke. They still have family. They still are a family unit. They're just going to operate differently. And what they can do in mediation is figure out how they're going to operate differently. We don't, when I litigate divorce, we don't talk about that. We don't, it's get as much as you can for the other person, or for your client from the other person. Get as much as your client wants, get them whatever they want when it comes to parenting and child support. And then you're done. And then that divorce is over, you're done. You'll probably never see them again. That's how it is in litigating. In mediating, the focus is totally different. It's not about winning for your client. Nobody wins. Jack and Jill figure out, because the mediator directs them there, how are they both going to live in the same zip code and parent their children in a positive manner, not interfering with each other until their children are old enough that they don't need parenting. And that's a long time from now. And how are they going to do that in a cooperative manner? If they can't do it, then their children are the ones that are at risk. Their children are the ones that receive the fallout of their anger and their refusal to work together. And they can't be selfish and say, well, I'm just not going to talk to you anymore. That all falls on the children, and that is the best way to really mess up your kids.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because it's just not your child, it's generations to come.
Yes.
And so I don't think people really truly understand that. And so as we are progressing in our lives, as we handle our emotions, as we handle some difficult times that are in our lives, things evolve, things happen, our children get involved in that, they see how we handle it. Mm-hmm. That then carries down into their way of child rearing, then that carries down into the next generation. Right. And so what we're trying to do today, Marta, and I think you are in total agreement, we're trying to change the world as it is today. We're trying to change the universe of divorce. Yeah. Because we're realistic. We understand that marriages, sometimes they don't make it. Yes. And so if they don't make it, doesn't necessarily mean that two parties are the bad parties. It just means, how do we get through this now? Right. And salvage what we have, because we did love each other at one time. Yep. So how do we salvage that? And how do we bring it to our kids to let them know that, I don't know what happened in between here. Life, I guess, happened. Mm-hmm. But your mom and I love you. You were, developed from love. And so let's try to continue that on. And so I wanted to bring forward your book, because I just loved your book. It's right here, everyone. If you can see it, the lighting thing. But, Marta wrote this wonderful book, and it's 7 Secrets from the Divorce Whisperer. And on here, you guys can't see it, but it says saving yourself, which I think is number 1, saving your money, your children, during divorce. And I think that is really the essence of this book. And I started reading this, and it was difficult for me to put it down, but I have to sleep at night. So, so I had to stop. But I really do like it. I would recommend it because, there's things like here. Let me just share this one with you. It says, it's up to you and no one else. Where do you read that in a book? That, really you are the one that makes the decisions in your life. So why not, make ones that aren't so where we're having to deal with conflict and anger and, so it's truly a great book. So what made you decide to write a book like this? Because I know you're successful in your own right. You don't necessarily have to sit down and put pen to paper and do this. So what possessed you to go within your heart and write a book like this?
A couple of things. I got divorced after 15 years of marriage, and our daughter was about 11 years old at that time. And I was already a divorce lawyer, so I knew the law. My former spouse was a personal injury attorney, and so he was a lawyer, but he didn't know divorce law. So I knew a lot more about divorce law than he did, but I was still scared to death. I was so afraid. I was so intimidated. I was so scared, and I was so worried about our daughter. And so I just, and this was before Amazon books. And this was when you'd go to Barnes and Noble. And so I went to Barnes and Noble, and I just started searching the racks for divorce books. And I already knew the law, so I didn't need that. I was looking for something that would help me through the emotional trauma that I was feeling, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find what I was looking for. And so at that time, that encouraged me to make decisions, and that I had the power to make those decisions. And so at that time, I thought, I'm going to write this book. I can't do it right now, but I'm going to write the book that's missing from the shelves. And then I'm going to put the legal information in it too, because most people that need to read this, or that this could be helpful for, they also need the legal information. I'm unique in that I also happen to have the legal information. So I'm going to put the legal information in there too. And then when I decided to do it, I decided to do it at that time. But then when I actually did it, I'd had a particularly bad day in court, and I was mentioning it to a friend over dinner, and I was complaining about our legal system. And she said she pulled a pen out of her purse, and she said, "Wait a minute." I was complaining. She pulled a pen out and paper out, and she said, "Okay, keep complaining. And how would you have liked for it to have come out in court?" And she started writing, and I started talking, and she started writing. And she handed me the piece of paper, and I said, "I guess this is the first chapter, huh?" And she said, "Yeah, I kind of think that's your first chapter." Because I had talked with her several times about writing a book. So that was the beginning. And I started then, and it was 5 years of Sundays before I finished it and got a publisher.
Yeah, I think it's a great book, and 7 secrets. So, we're not going to share all of them with you. So maybe as we progress in the show here today, we talk a little bit more about it. But I think the number one thing for me is, mediation, understanding that there's another way of divorcing, and so that people can understand that, there's not we don't have to fight and be adversarial about it. If that's truly what's going to happen in our lives. And so I think that's tremendously important. So tell us a little bit about, I know that you started your career being an attorney, but then you took it to another level with regards to understanding the emotions that people go through in divorce. So can you share with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I started out as a trial lawyer for United Airlines in Chicago, and I represented them whether I believed they were innocent or guilty. You represent your company, and I realized how many cases we won because we were bigger and we had more attorneys. We had like 35 attorneys on staff in-house, and we just had the attorney power to outpower smaller people or smaller law firms. And I thought, well, that doesn't seem fair. We should be winning on our own rights. And we also had cases that we won, but we lost the relationship with the person that we won against. So, for instance, somebody that gave us jet fuel, that sent us jet fuel from New York, if they were late, we got in trouble for it by the FAA. We got fined because we were late getting it in the plane and late pushing back from the tarmac at O'Hare, and so we got fined for it. And so we would sue them for it because they were late getting it to us, and they would say, "Okay, forget it. We don't want any contracts with you anymore," and then we wouldn't have any jet fuel. And my boss would say, crush the enemy, go get somebody else to send us fuel. And at that time, there were only 3 pipelines coming into O'Hare. And it occurred to me, hey, once we sue all 3 of these, we aren't going to have any fuel. There aren't going to be any United Airlines planes in the sky. So I saw the need to look for different ways to resolve this dispute besides suing our vendors. And then it became really clear. So I started taking continuing legal education classes on mediation and alternative dispute resolution. My boss was really thrilled with that because we had the power to sue, but we didn't maintain those relationships. And I could see that that was going to get us in really big trouble very quickly. So I started looking at alternative ways to resolve disputes. Then I took everything I could take, every class I could take in civil mediation. And the only thing left to take was family mediation. I thought, well, I might learn some more techniques there. And so I took family mediation and I was hooked. I was hooked. I'm like, oh, this is what it's really about. And this is the most important relationship you can have in your life is your spouse, not a relationship with a vendor. And here are ways that you can help. Here are ways that I can help people maintain those relationships, even though they get divorced. And this is really important stuff. And this is what I want to make my life about. And so I quit my posh job at a Fortune 500 company where I could fly anywhere in the world for $5 round trip, first class. Wow. And everybody thought I was crazy and opened up my own family law mediation firm. Everybody thought I was crazy. And I'm like, well, this is what I want to do with my life. And I couldn't be happier. I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I did it.
I know you're helping a lot of people, and you're in St. Louis,
yes.
And so I know that you do help tremendous amount of people there, which is wonderful, and you're really changing the way divorce is being looked at. You're changing the feel of it, and I think that's truly important. And most importantly, you're really supporting the families out there that are experiencing divorce, which is very, very vital. So I tell you what, Marta, we're going to take a quick break, and it's just a moment of silence, just so that when we are in audio, they can put a commercial in place. Sure. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk a little bit more about your book, about the secrets. Maybe share one or two with us.
Sure.
And then we can move forward with that. So it would be great. So you guys. Here we go. I lost myself. I got lost in the whole thing. Hey guys, I'm sorry about that, but you know the way it is here with going solo. We just got to roll with the punches. But so you guys, we have Marta with us, Marta Papa, and she's absolutely wonderful, and she's the divorce whisperer. We're going to get right back with her. We're going to talk about her new book here. It's the 7 Secrets of the Divorce Whisperer, Saving Yourself Money and Your Children During Divorce, and that's so important, as we're going through it. But I want to also let you know, you guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We are the #1 internet singles talk network. We're very proud of that, and we hope that you guys enjoy it as much as we do. Our site is goingsolomedia.com. You can find all of our information on there, along with all of our wonderful elites and our sponsors, and just some really great information about business and all these wonderful authors that we have on. So, and their great books and their links and things to go directly to their books to buy them. And we hope that you will do that too. So we're going to take a moment of silence so that we can break for our commercials, and we'll be right back. Okay, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We're listening to the second part of the Author's Corner, Meet the Author. And today, of course, we have a wonderful author with us. We don't want to waste any time because she's a beautiful lady. She's all the way from St. Louis. She is called the Divorce Whisperer. Welcome back, Marta.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's great having you. Marta Papa, she's been in the business for, over 35 years. She's helped people through divorce, through some of the difficult times in their lives, really embracing a new way of, and I don't want to say new way because it's been around forever, mediation. I know that I'm from Florida, and so Florida, it's a requirement to do mediation, but we can divorce through mediation without actually doing the adversarial part of it. Can we not, Marta?
Yes, that's true. That is the bulk of my clientele. Even though mediation is not mandatory in the part of Missouri where I live in St. Louis, the bulk of my clientele is self-selected. And so they don't want to hire 2 lawyers and have them go to war. And so they hire 1 mediator. And then if they need outside legal advice, or they want to check on what a mediator said, or they want to double check something or get another opinion, I encourage them to do that. So they're absolutely free to do that. But if they come into mediation by themselves, just the couple and the mediator, we kind of make a triangle. And the lawyers are kind of on the outside of the door. And if they need them to go out and talk to them, they aren't really there. They're by phone, or they call them before the next session. Then it's really clear who's making the decisions. All right. It's the people at the table, and the mediator doesn't make any decisions. People will ask me all the time, well, what do you think, Marta? What would you do? And I'm like, I'm not going to answer. It doesn't matter what I think. I'm not the mom. I'm not the dad. I don't own that 401k. It's not my life. I'm not going to tell you what I would do. I don't know what I would do. Wish I had that to do something with it. I don't have one of those. So I don't make decisions for you. This is not arbitration. I don't decide anything for you. I just provide the place and the opportunity for you each to hear each other, so that Jack can hear what Jill is saying her needs are. And Jack is in a mental state that he realizes it's in his best interest to meet as many of Jill's needs as he can, while still meeting his top priorities. And Jill's in a mental state where she realizes it's in her best interest to not fight Jack's needs if she doesn't oppose them, and still get her needs met. So you have to care about what the other person gets, not because you adore them and wish them well, but it's really in your best interest. As long as you're not giving away the pie, as long as you're not giving away what's important to you. So let me give you an example of that. All right. So I'll have I had a woman, actually it's in the book, I think I call her Harley Davidson Mama or something, motorcycle mama, I think is what I call her. And so she's getting divorces, maybe a 20-year marriage, and they're mediating, and no lawyers on the outside, so they're making the decisions in my office. And we get to the motorcycle that's written down on the list, needs to be divided. And she says, I want the motorcycle. And Jack says, you don't ride the motorcycle. Why would you want the motorcycle? She says, I don't have to say, I want the motorcycle. So I asked her, do you ride motorcycles? No. Do you have a license for a motorcycle? No. Have you ever driven this motorcycle? No. Is that a new hobby you want to pick up? No. Okay. Do you want to sell this motorcycle? No. Okay. So what does this motorcycle mean to you? Why is it important in your future? Because the reason we're getting divorced is because of that damn motorcycle. He was always working on it on Saturday and Sunday. And the reason I didn't get any attention is that damn motorcycle. So I want that motorcycle. And so then I reminded her of this picture of her future that she wanted to wake up to, and showed her the picture that she drew of her perfect life in the future that doesn't have the husband in it, and showed her it didn't have a motorcycle in it either, and said, when did you decide you wanted that motorcycle in that picture? Well, I didn't until now. Okay. All right. So why do you want that motorcycle in that picture? Well, because I want to punish Jack. All right. Okay. What's that motorcycle worth? 10 grand. Okay. So, and what you really want is to open up your own cosmetology business. Yes. And so what's going to help you do that? Money or a motorcycle? Cash. Okay. So maybe you want to offer Jack he can keep that motorcycle and get $10,000 cash for it. Yeah, that's what I really want. Okay. All right. So can you let that anger about the motorcycle, because you know Jack's just going to go get a bigger, badder, meaner, more expensive motorcycle, right? It's just going to overpower and overshadow the one you got. you're going to be stuck with a used motorcycle that you can't sell, and it's going to prevent you from opening up your cosmetology school, right? So that's really not in your best interest to punish him like that, right? And it doesn't really punish him anyway. So she says yes. And then Jack was happy and she was happy. So if you can help people stay focused on what they need for the future, and they have to meet some of the other person's needs, or else the other person will just get up and walk out, then you can really help them get over some of the resentment from the past and realize that if their goal is to mete out a pound of flesh at mediation, they're not going to win. All right. Mm-hmm. It just hurts them. It doesn't hurt the other person. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't help them move forward into the life that they want to create for themselves. And so if they're logical about it, they don't feel logical, they just feel emotional, but that emotion doesn't help them get where they want to go. And so I can point that out, not lecture them, but just point that out. They're like, yeah, you're right. That's true. Okay. All right. I'm going to let it go. But I think I want $15,000. And typically Jack will say, how about 16? And I'll write the check right now and shove it over to her. Right. Because he really wants that motorcycle. So that's what mediation can do. That would take 5 months of fighting for 2 lawyers to do and cost more than $10,000 the value of the motorcycle. It was more than $10,000 fighting over that motorcycle and 5 months of these people's lives when she didn't really want the motorcycle at all.
Right.
But nobody
it cost them emotions. Tremendous. It's like a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
On this. And so it saves the tremendous amount of emotion. So you're totally right. There was also a couple things in here too in your book, which I thought was really great. It talked about being a dad. It talked about couples, the attitude, essential tips for helping your child before the divorce, which is very important. Mm-hmm. It also talked about collaborative divorce, and we don't hear about collaborative divorce very much. And so you also have some information in here regarding collaborative divorce. And then the real casualties of divorce is children. Here, the collaborative divorce is right here. Yeah.
So I could speak briefly to that.
Okay.
Collaborative divorce is a spin-off of mediation. So collaborative divorce takes 2 lawyers that are also mediators and have experience in family mediation. And Jack hires a collaborative attorney that is a mediator in family law. Jill hires a collaborative attorney that's a mediator in family law. And the 4 of them come to the table and sign an agreement saying that if we don't settle this at this table, then the 2 lawyers get fired and Jack and Jill have to go hire 2 litigators. So Jack and Jill, so the 2 attorneys have a vested interest in settling it at the table and not going to court to fight it out in court. You spend most of your money in court when you're litigating. And so collaborative divorce is typically less money than a divorce that goes to trial and has a lot of litigated aspects to it, like motions and trial hearings and pretrial motions and discovery, etc. So those 2 lawyers sign a document saying, if we can't settle here and we have to go use a judge or have a trial, we lose our job. That's how committed we are to settling it here. And Jack and Jill want that. But they just feel like they can't. So that's like a rectangle, whereas the mediation is like a triangle. The mediation, the mediator is a lawyer and a mediator, but the mediator doesn't represent husband against wife or wife against husband. The mediator is a pure neutral. right? And in collaborative, Jack has a lawyer who's a mediator. Jill has a lawyer who's a mediator. And so there's still a little bit of Jack's lawyer represents him. Jill's lawyer represents her. And so there's still some of that lawyer fuming going on and a lot of hot air in that room. I've done a bunch of collaborative divorces. And I think, man, if I'd gotten these people in mediation, we'd be done by now. Because you put two lawyers in a room and they'll argue about the language and should we use the word this or that. And there's just there's more to argue about. And the expectation is higher, that everything be perfectly accurate in legalese than there is if there's just one mediator in the room.
Yeah.
So
I totally get that. I mean, I guess there's a place for that. If there's still, and maybe it depends on your assets, or maybe it depends on the conflict of personalities. Maybe you need something like that a little bit when you have a conflict of personalities, and those that are divorcing ones with conflict of personalities totally understand what I'm talking about. Yeah. So you might need something like that, but in essence, I think what we're trying to really get across in today's show is that if you can come to some sort of agreement that's going to benefit you both, let's get it done. Let's make it happen. I mean, our show is not about the glitz and glam. It's not about being absolutely perfect, but it's about the information that's given. And it's the same thing when you go and you're doing your mediation, you're doing your divorce. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be what you can live with at the moment and what you see for your future.
Yes.
And so that's really what it's about. And so I know we're getting closer to the close of the show, but I wanted to make sure that you guys see this book. And like I said, I have read almost all of it, but it's the 7 Secrets from the Divorce Whisperer, Saving Yourself. And I think that we need to make sure we understand, you guys understand it, saving yourself, your money, your children during divorce. And so if you guys are getting a divorce or you're thinking about getting a divorce, heads up, get smart. Understand what you need to understand. Read a book like this, read other books out there. If you don't know your laws, understand your laws. The best person that can really represent you is yourself. And so I think, understanding and being able to then have a mediator like yourself, Marta, you can work together on making it happen. Yeah, absolutely.
One last point, the mediator, a well-trained mediator is well-trained at balancing the power in the room. And so if one person has more power or knowledge than the other person about a 401k or stock options, then it's the mediator's job to empower the person that doesn't have as much knowledge, right? And it might not happen in the mediation room. They may send the person to a financial planner or whatever, but a lot of good can happen from that too. So just because you don't have as much knowledge as your spouse has, it doesn't mean you have to use collaborative law. It's the mediator's job to balance the power. And if you are in mediation and you don't think that power is being balanced, then quit, go to collaborative law. But you don't have to be exactly equally powered to go into mediation. That's the job of the mediator.
That's excellent point. And I think that's really, truly the essence of the benefit of mediation is that it does equal that out for you a little bit. It helps clarify, some issues and stay on point, stay on task of what it is that you want to try to accomplish. And so that's awesome. Marta, I put your information up here so everyone has it. It's marta@consideringdivorce.com. And then your website is consideringdivorce.com. And your phone number is 314-862-0202.
Yes.
Again, your phone number again is 314-862-0202. She's in St. Louis. So, if you guys are in that area, or if you just want to call her, I'm sure she'll take your call and help direct you to where you need to go. but it's really important. And again, I want you guys to go out, buy this book if you're looking at divorce, because I think it's important. It's 7 Secrets of Divorce right here, Whisper, saving yourself, your money, your children during divorce. So it's very, very, very important. It's an easy read. I mean, it's an easy read.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very good book. So
it was written for a Sunday afternoon read.
Yeah, absolutely. So not taking medication and then trying to read it when you sleep. But no, it's super, super great. I thought it was very good, very, very well written. So, all right, Marta, so any closing words that you would like to share with our audience today?
I would say my biggest goal is to change the way people divorce, where they're making the decisions. Lawyers aren't making the decisions for them. Judges aren't making the decisions for them. They're making the decisions for themselves, and they figure out a way to coexist and co-parent so that their difficulties with each other don't fall onto their children.
Well, very well put. Very, very well put. Well, I know we have already twisted Marta's arm. She's promised to come back and share some information again with us about divorce and also about, moving through, because you all know that here on Going Solo, we really do pay attention to the essence of our lives and as we're doing that transition. And so we have all found that as we're doing the transition, we're going into dating, we're starting to date, this and that, we still kind of go back to some of the issues that we've had in past relationships. And so Marta's agreed to come back and help us a little bit with sorting out some issues that might arise. Of course, she's a family law, divorce litigator. She specializes in divorce, mediation, child custody, visitation, all of that goes along with it. And so there's going to be a lot of issues that as we transfer and as we transition, I should say, in our lives through divorce, there's going to be other issues that are going to pop up, that we need help along the way. So Marta's agreed to come back. So thank you for that. Yeah, you're wonderful.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I really appreciate you. And again, everyone, if you want to send her an email, it's marta@consideringdivorce.com. Her website, check it out. It's consideringdivorce.com. Her phone number is 314-862-0202. She's a wonderful author of this great book, 7 Secrets from the Divorce Whisperer, Saving Yourself, Your Money, Your Children During Divorce, a vital book that if you're going through divorce, something you definitely want to get a hold of and read. And her over 35 years of experience, it's, you captured a lot in a very small book. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
I did. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, guys, it went by very, very quickly. You guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We are the Singles Talk Network here on the internet. You're listening to the Author's Corner, Meet the Author. We had a wonderful author today, Marta J. Papa, and she's from St. Louis. She's the Divorce Whisperer. She's got a wonderful book again, 7 Secrets from the Divorce Whisperer, Saving Yourself, Your Money, and Your Children During Divorce. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. You guys can contact us right here on goingsolomedia.com. That's our website. We've got all our information up there. We hope that you'll check it out. All of our wonderful hosts that share with you each and every week. Again, if you want to email me, I'm at goingsolonetwork@gmail.com. Again, I'm CC. I'm the doyenne of relationship building. And I love you. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did. It's a joy to be here. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same place. Bye for now.